Seven arrested, 2 firearms seized in St. Elizabeth operations. The St. Elizabeth police are reporting that a series of operations carried out in the parish on Friday have led to the arrest of 7 people as well as the seizure of 2 firearms. According to Senior Superintendent of Police Coleridge Minto, the operations, which began at 3 a.m. on Friday and will continue throughout the weekend, is to ensure the safety of the people in St. Elizabeth. The parish has been plagued by violence in recent months. Late September, a man was shot dead near a gas station at gutters close to Manchester-St. Elizabeth border on Saturday. Earlier the same day, another man was shot dead at Pepper District, while another man was shot and injured in Thornton District. I want to assure the citizens of this parish that we will continue our operational activities to ensure that our parish remains a safe one, Minto stated. So far, we have gone across a number of our town centres and a number of our hotspot communities. At this time, 160 tickets have been issued, 11 motor vehicles seized along with 2 motorcycles. One targeted raid was carried out in Gutters area, where 2 firearms were seized from a vehicle. 7 persons have been arrested so far. The operations will continue, he added. Royalton Falls Out continues. Another senior manager of the luxury hotel Royalton Negril has been separated from the entity following a protest last month by workers over their working conditions. Reporters have confirmed that a senior manager whose name is being withheld was sent home on Friday after he was blamed by the workers for many of the challenges they face on the job. He joins the general manager, who was suspended in the immediate aftermath of the protests by workers over what they say were poor treatment of staff by the management, inadequate pay, and being overworked, among other things. This protest impacted the operations of the hotel and reportedly resulted in some guests having to find alternative food. Some guests also came out to support the workers during the protests, while one guest took to social media to demand a refund of the money she had spent for what she expected to be a relaxing vacation in a tropical paradise. Following the protests, Daniel Lozano, Senior Vice President of the Blue Diamond International Operators of Royalton, rushed to the island for meetings with the management team and some of the workers. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett, Senior Advisor and Strategist in the Ministry Delano Severite, Executive Director of the Tourism Production Development Company Wade Mars, and other tourism officials also rushed to the hotel for meetings to settle the dispute. Minister of Labour and Social Security Pernell Charles Jr. and his team also visited the hotel for talks. Following the discussions, the workers returned to job, but they have been warned that normalcy cannot be guaranteed if the suspended general manager returns to the property or if there are no improvements in their working conditions. Curfew imposed in Whitehall and Manning Hill. A 48-hour curfew has been imposed in the Whitehall and Manning Hill communities in St. Andrew. The curfew began at 6 p.m. on Friday and will remain in effect until 6 p.m. on Sunday. The boundaries of the curfew are north from the intersection of Wayne Drive to Plum Lane to the intersection of Sherlock Drive and Mannings Hill Road, east from Mannings Hill Road from the intersection of Sherlock Drive to the intersections of Lawrence Avenue and Manning Hills Road, south along Lawrence Avenue from the intersection of Mannings Hill Road to the intersection of Watson Drive and Cadet Drive, west from the intersection of Watson Drive and Cadet Drive to the intersection of Wayne Drive and Plum Lane. During the hours of the curfew, all persons within its boundaries are required to remain within their premises unless otherwise authorized by the Ground Commander. New Finance Minister Williams hits back at Robinson in debt to GDP debate. Newly appointed Minister of Finance Favour Williams has hit back at opposition spokesman on finance Julian Robinson's claim that Jamaica's debt to GDP, gross domestic product, ratio when the Jamaica Labour Party JLP administration came into office in 2016. Robinson, in a statement to the media on Wednesday, had challenged a claim by the Prime Minister Andrew Holness in Parliament the day before the country's debt to GDP ratio was 145% when the JLP administration took office. He said, in fact, the debt to GDP ratio stood at 115% when his People's National Party PNP left office in 2016 after a period of careful fiscal management. Accusing the Prime Minister of making a false statement, Robinson added, in 2012 the PNP inherited a challenging economic situation with the debt to GDP ratio at 145%. By 2016, through determined efforts, we had reduced this to 115%, achieving a substantial improvement that averaged an annual reduction of 7.5%. However, the newly minted Finance Minister Williams sought to remind the opposition spokesperson and the public of what she said were pertinent dates and figures. On December 29, 2011, the PNP won the general election, and by the time the second fiscal year ended at March 31, 2013, Jamaica debt to GDP ratio has risen to 145.3% from 138.8% at the end of March 2012. In addition, reference was made to the International Monetary Fund Countries Report number 16/181 dated June 2016. Following the conclusion of IMF's article for consultation that she said shows the debt to GDP ratio at the end of March 2016, when the PNP left office, was 128.7% and not 115% as the spokesman indicated. She said it was regrettably that the issue has been politicized, noting that the Prime Minister, in reference to the debt to GDP, said no single administration has done it. Recently, in its reviews on the Precautionary and Lifeline and Resilience and Sustainability Facility, the IMF reported a GDP ratio of 71.8% for the recent fiscal year, which ended March 31, 2024. She argued that the debt to GDP reduction between 2016 and 2024 under the Holness administration has been far more significant, moving from 128.7% to 71.8% as at the end of the fiscal year ended March 31, 2024. This amounts to a reduction of 56.9 percentage points over the period of 7.1 percentage points reduction per year, an average in the face of extreme global health and natural disaster shocks, Williams continued. Contrast this with only 16.6 percentage point reduction achieved by the PNP government during 2013 to 2016, despite there being no significant external shocks to the economy. She also noted that during 2016 to 2024, some of the significant gains achieved were reversed by the impact of COVID-19, the worst global health crisis in a century, as well as the overlapping global crises associated with other things. Collectively, the impact of these resulted in the large external shock to the Jamaican economy, which we have experienced since the country's independence, said Williams, who on Wednesday replaced IMF-bound Dr. Nigel Clark as finance minister. She added that it is worth noting that during 2013 to 2016, Jamaicans were burdened with two significant tax increases. The 2012-2013 tax package announced was budgeted to raise $19.38 billion, and this was followed by another raft of tax measures in 2013 to 14 totaling $15.9 billion. This period saw the most massive tax packages in our independent history, Williams noted. For contrast, the debt to GDP reductions during 2016 to 2024 have been achieved alongside 9 consecutive budgets with no net new taxes. In fact, several taxes have been reduced over the period, Williams stated, outlining among them income tax threshold being increased from 592,800 to 1.7 million and GCT being reduced from 16.5% to 15%. Williams added that the spokesman is entitled to his own opinion, but not to his own facts. The data and the facts on the country's debt to GDP reduction are clear and unequivocal. I welcome the opportunity to really set the record straight and to inform the public accordingly. Ocho man dies after being beaten severely. A man who was severely beaten by a group of men in St. Anne has died in hospital. Dead is Sean Gimison, otherwise Koshanti, a 48-year-old singer of Etham in Ocho Rios. Reports were that about 7 p.m. on Wednesday, October 30, Jamison was attacked at a house by 3 men. The police later responded to a report about an injured man seen lying on a roadway. He was assisted to the St. Anne's Regional Hospital, where he was admitted. He subsequently succumbed to his injuries. As a result, the case has been upgraded from assault occasioning grievous bodily harm to murder. The Ocho-Rios Criminal Investigations Branch is probing the incident. Remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.